Welcome, Libra. It's your Pisces new moon, 1 month forecast for the ascendant, the sun, or the moon. At 28 degrees, this is the seventh consecutive, but also final new moon at that degree of a series that began last September. Incredible synchronicity, but it also occurs right at the end of the overall zodiac. So that brings very powerful symbolism about completion. And we know that new moons are very much about setting intentions. I think you can set your intentions on this particular event, Libra, but I also feel that you can receive some rewards for a lot of hard work over the last 2 years. I'm going to share with you what you can expect over the next 4 weeks in terms of relationships, finance, energy, and work. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. A very warm welcome. If you're yet to subscribe to the channel, please do so now and help it to continue to thrive. So on the screen is your event chart. When we have a new moon, essentially it's a conjunction. It's also, or could be described as a cazimi, except that the moon is known as a luminary, lights up the night, the sun lights up the day, but they're collaborating. And because it's a water new moon, and the moon is the ruler of the water sign of Cancer, the moon's particularly content here. But in your case, the connection between them occurs not just in the empathetic, sensitive, and very atmospheric Pisces, it's in the sixth house, which has a more practical dimension. And that can be around things like work, life organization, our approach to diet, sleep, exercise, even our love of animals. The sixth house very much to do with pets. So what's the prospects for you? Well, the combination of these two being right at the end of Pisces means they're in the last decan of that sign, which is subruled by Mars. Mars is about passion. And it just so happens that Mars is also in residency in the sign of Pisces. Mars in the sixth house can confer on us extra vigor and stamina. It's just because of the water host that can slow down the thrust and drive of Mars. So it's not necessarily the best of locations, but what has been more challenging recently is Mercury. Since the 6th of February, Mercury has been in Pisces. I think it's this weaker sign of all. In the essential dignity, sometimes we have to challenge them. But although Mercury in Pisces can be brilliant for writing, being very creative and imaginative, when it comes to practicalities, which the sixth house is very much about, because that has an echo of Virgo, I think Mercury is much less helpful. So if you have experienced some tangles or brittle energies at work, or there's been some appointments that have been cancelled, or misunderstandings, it wouldn't be a complete surprise. The good news is Mercury is going to go direct on the 20th, just after the vernal equinox. So if you have been waiting for news about a job application, an appointment with a specialist, you could get that news by the end of this week. But it's also very close to that point of destiny. It's important with Pisces energy to trust instinct, but because for you, the sixth house is about how you actuate that instinct in a way which gives you some kind of tangible outcome. That's quite complex. But I feel that the combination of these two can, over the next month, bring you some real opportunities. But if we think of the big picture and go back to the last 2 or more years, generally, Saturn, the planet of limitation, was working its way through this sixth house. So if you did experience some challenges around energy, around other people thinking that you were responsible for all of their needs without them taking enough responsibility for them, if work was quite tricky and challenging, if it seemed whatever you did was micro-analyzed by people, it wouldn't be a surprise. But what Saturn did was stiffen your resolve. And if you really rolled up your celestial sleeves, that's why I feel over the next month, because of the completion of the zodiac at the final degree of the sign of Pisces, you could get a significant uplift. And it may be around money and it may be around work. And the reason for that, first of all, in terms of finance, Uranus, the planet of disruption, but also of freedom, has been shaking things up around your long-term finances, shared resources, maybe even entrepreneurship. You may have been quite inspired at times over the last 7 years, but there may have also been times when things were just very unpredictable. But that's in a great link, a sextile to the sun and the moon. And that means that your coolness, your air energy helps you to assess things and look for balance. Yet sometimes you can be a little bit cautious to dive in if you're not sure. But if the details stack up over something you discuss, which has some kind of innovative dimension to it over the next month, for example, if you're offered a job where you can combine your experience and knowledge in a way which you bring your precision, but also your flair, that's something that could be very exciting. But also Mars, which is trying to give you more stamina, is in a stunning alliance with Jupiter. Jupiter's been at the top of your chart since June last year, but when it arrived, it clashed with Saturn badly. So Saturn being the greater malefic, the 15th of June, that meant that when Jupiter arrived, that potential hope for a breakthrough professionally may not have come quite as you wanted. Now, they did start to collaborate better towards the end of last year. Then Jupiter went into its annual retrograde, which is just finished. But that combination of Jupiter being the most visible planet on your chart, the most northerly player in the northern hemisphere, and of course can be about fortune, and the position of Mars in the sixth house, so practicalities with ambition and potential for status, suggest as long as you're tuning into your instincts, because they're both housed in water signs, your decisive action, if you can take it over the next 4 weeks, could work out fabulously well for you. The other thing is that Venus, your ruler, is linking into Jupiter too. Sometimes in life, it's a square that can actually bring benefits. And those benefits might be where you offer something in a professional situation, perhaps do lean into someone's needs, but that generosity of spirit can actually be something that enhances your reputation and someone can really like you. But equally, around your romantic situation, you could encounter someone professionally that you just seem to really get on with. And there is real potential for some healing with Venus coming into contact with Chiron towards the end of March. If you have felt that relationships will just never fall into place in the way you want, it could be to do with some inner wounds from the past. And later this month, you will have a chance to release them with that conjunction. However, because this is a time of transition, we do need to think strategically, and that comes from Pluto and Saturn. So Saturn's saying to you about relationships, you really need to be in the ones that are meaningful. But the link with Pluto in your fifth house of romance also suggests that something could be transforming. I feel that with the arrival of the sun, because this is a new moon which does connect with Neptune, so with the arrival of the sun on the vernal equinox, it's immediate link to Neptune. Pretty soon after, by the middle of next week, it's in an exact conjunction with Saturn. You could reach a point in a relationship, and maybe a professional one, where there is a big decision to be made. Because if the vibe for you, Libra, is that you've done a lot of giving over the last few years and you're still not really feeling appreciated, and that dedication and responsibility you show towards your role is something that you've shown a lot of, taken a lot of care with, a lot of pride, but you still feel that other people don't really get it. I feel that the sun moving on the vernal equinox into Aries could see you wanting to put a much firmer boundary down. And by the middle of next week, as the sun links with Saturn but links back to Pluto, you might actually be surprised that by being firm and setting that boundary, someone could come back to you, not necessarily romantically only, but someone could come back to you with a greater understanding of what you've got to offer, because you've actually energetically removed what the overgiving that you were doing. Now, in terms of the summary of all the different options, if you're up for getting a bit more virtuous about what you're eating and drinking, how much exercise you're getting, you can really roar forwards in the next month. If you are someone who's a real dedicated person, but you're open to doing things in a fresh way, and innovation and technology, a job offer could come to you over the next few weeks. In a relationship, I think if you live with someone, there needs to be a fairer share of the domestic load. If you do love animals, one could be coming into your world over the next month, or the one you've got can become even dearer to you. But when it comes to relationships, there does need to be a good balance of the give and get and all sorts of ties. And by the middle of the week following this one, you're going to know exactly where something stands. But professionally, I think that link between Mars and Jupiter looks very encouraging, but it does require you to be very decisive, something you can be a bit tentative about. But there is a part of many Libras that when you're up against it, you get a spark, which is not dissimilar to the energy of Aries. There is a concept in astrology that we can be a reflection of the opposite sign. And remember, you are a cardinal sign. So if there's something isn't working for you at the moment, the best way forward is for you to take a firm grip on it and really seize the moment. And you might be surprised how everyone responds to you after that. If you'd like to watch your Jupiter Direct video, please see that on screen. If you'd like to watch your Mars in Pisces video, please see that. You can sign up for your free daily horoscope. I've written them for many, many years. Get it fired to your device each morning. Get that cosmic pit stop early in the day. Please see below. Like to work with me direct? Please see below. Like to order your personal horoscopes? The Life Roadmap will give you stunning, searing insights into the patterns that are played out in your life, the forecast, an opportunity when to time things in the year ahead. They're great value, totally unique to each person they're produced for, and very accurate. You can get 50% off by applying Astro 26 at the checkout for the Natal and Draco 26 at the checkout for the Draconic Soul Karmic versions. Thank you so much, Libra. All the best and goodbye.